Goedenavond allemaal. In de tweede aflevering van onze serie Vanuit de Wortels gezien, vanavond een portret van een van de weinige Afrikaanse schrijfsters, Buchi en Haar grotendeels autobiografisch werk beschrijft de situatie van de vrouw in Afrika, zoals die vooral gegroeid is onder invloed van het na-koloniale tijdperk in Nigeria. In deze film wordt Buchi en gefilmd op reis door Nigeria, langs de plaatsen die een rol in haar leven hebben gespeeld.
Lagos, de miljoenenhoofdstad van Nigeria in West-Afrika. Trekpleister voor de bewoners van het platteland en voor vreemdelingen uit de buurstaten. In de tijd dat de olie nog grote winsten opbracht. Aan hun dromen van welvaart hielden zij slechts een krotwoning over. Met hoogbouw vertonen banken en multinationals hun macht. Het militair bewind voedt schoolkinderen op met het vegen van straten. Hier, in de wijk Yaba, werd een van Nigeria's bekendste schrijfsters geboren, Buchi Emecheta. Aan de bouwstijl van de huizen is nog te zien dat eens nakomelingen van slaven die uit Brazilië terugkeerden de eerste bewoners waren. Akinwumstraat, de straat waar Buchi Emecheta woonde. Buchi Emecheta op zoek naar haar verleden. Buchi Emecheta werd in 1944 geboren, toen Nigeria nog een Britse kolonie was. Wat was de invloed van het kolonialisme?
With colonization, we have the fact that men have to leave their farms and go and work for somebody else. And it's made the women very, very dependent. On the farms, women had their own little patches where they can all develop and, develop their own economic independence. It's not much, but a bit of independence. But during colonization, it means the men have to come to the city, and they both and other children they have will have to depend on one income. And the African man has always had it inside him that he must have another wife or something like that, or mistress, not mistress, but another wife. And then you bring a lot of clashes. So in the first place, it reduces the position of the man. And in the second place, it robs the woman of the little independence she had before the arrival of the colonial powers. So it has a big impact on the society as a whole.
Zoals velen kwamen ook de ouders van Emecheta vanuit Ibuza, hun dorp, naar Lagos. Vader werd grassnijder bij de spoorwegen. In de Tweede Wereldoorlog werd hij gerekruteerd voor het Britse leger en ging naar Burma. In de zegeningen van het moederschap beschrijft zij de inlijving bij het leger.
During that afternoon, they noticed that there were armed trucks coming into the yard. They wondered what they were going on, though they could not stop work to stare very long. They saw European officers with formidable mustaches, looking strong and wicked, and there were tall Hausa soldiers with their truncheons, who were known locally as Korofo army policemen. On this day, in the railway yard, the Korofos were parading up and down as if in search of something. They noticed the grass cutters singing but showed no reaction. When the whistle blew and it was time to wash, Naife wished his friends goodbye, and he had just reached the bridge when from all corners the Korofos came, swinging their truncheons in the air. From here to here, go, go, go into the lorry, go, go. Naife could not make out if they were going to the Ikoyi barracks or even the ones he had seen so often at Igbobi in Yaba. In the corridor, they were asked to wait. Most of them had subsided into silence. Soon the medical was over. He and Ibekwe and about 30 others remained. They were to join the army.
Haar vader kwam ziek uit de oorlog in Burma terug. Hij stierf niet lang daarna.
I used to be sorry for this man, just sitting there with his bad leg, and he managed to go to work with it and feed us. And he had time to tell me all sorts of stories of our people, the great people of our own kingdom, that's Igbo kingdom, and all sorts of things. So he gave me that inspiration. So when he died, I was very heartbroken. And I think one of the things I told myself as a child was that I disappointed my father in being born a girl. So I would like to achieve something that men have achieved. So this is my own way of paying back my father, I think. One afternoon, Ma was sitting on the veranda of their house at Akiumi Street. With Ada's help, she had cooked the afternoon meal and they had both eaten. Ma started to undo her hair, ready to have it replaited. Ada has seen this millions of times. I was bored with watching her. There was nothing for her to do. There was nobody to play with. There was not even any mischief to plan. Then the thought suddenly struck her. Yes, she would go to school. She would not go to Ladilak because boy was there and they might ask her to pay. It being such an expensive school, she would go to the Methodist school round the corner. It was cheaper. Her ma had said that she liked the uniform. Most of her friends attended it, and Mr. Cole, the Sierra Leonean neighbor living next to them, taught there. Yes, she would go there. Her dress was clean enough, though it was too big, but she thought of something to smarten it up. Before she left the room, one of Ma's innumerable friends came for a visit, and the two women were so engrossed in their chit-chat that they did not notice when Ada slipped past them. Thus, Ada went to school. She ran as fast as she could before anyone could stop her. She did not see any of Ma's friends because it was past midday and very, very hot. Most of the people were too tired to walk in the streets at this time. She got tired of running and she started to trot like a lame horse. Tired of trotting, then she walked. She was soon at the classroom. There were two buildings in the compound. With her head up in determination, she walked down the center looking for Mr. Cole's class. This was easy for her because all the classes were separated from each other by low cardboard-like partitions. It was easy to see all the classes by simply walking down the middle. When she saw Mr. Cole, she walked into his class and stood behind him. The other children looked up from their work and stared at Ada in wonder. At first there was a hush so tangible that one could almost hold and feel it. God bless Mr. Cole. He did not laugh. He took in the situation immediately, gave Ada one of those special smiles, held out his hand, and led her to a boy who had crocro on his head and gestured her to sit down. Ada did not know what to make of this gesture. She felt Mr. Cole should have asked her why she came. But being reassured by his smile, she said in her very little but loud voice, "I came to school. My parents would not send me." The class went quiet once more. The boy with the crow on his head, he later became a lecturer at Lagos University City Hospital, gave her a bit of his pencil and Ada scribbled, enjoying the smell of procro, dry sweat. She never in all her life forgot the smell of school. Gosh, it has all changed. I used to remember when we used to grow up here, it used to be so vast, so big. The garage has shrunk. Believe it or not, I was born in this compound. And I remember it very well. My mother was plaiting her hair down there. And I ran from there to school down the road in Ladylak Institute. It's all changed. The first teacher I had, Mr. Cole, lived in this room. And we were there. And I remember we used to play along this corridor. But then it used to be so huge to us. And this was my mother's kitchen. How everything has changed. By the time I got to Gasa School, my father had already died. So I had to force relatives in order to allow me to sit for the exam. They just wouldn't. So I had to bury the money in which I was told to go and buy meat. And I used that in paying for my forms. Luckily for me, something was telling me that I would win that scholarship. There were, I think my number was 928. So there were over 1,000 girls. And the scholarship for the whole Lagos, the whole of Western Nigeria was only for 2 girls every year. But something told me I would win it, and I did. And after that, things were easy because I had to go to Methodist Girls High School. I shall speak of beauty. You saw the area in which I was born. No girl from that area ever attended such schools. And you can see the friends I have now. They are daughters of very, very rich men. You know, I don't want to name names, but they are daughters of rich Lagos businessmen then. So though I attended that school, I always felt inferior because I didn't have rich parents to support me. But I had everything I wanted because I had a full scholarship.
Shall we say the pledge, please? I pledge.
Yes, this is still the office for the secretary. This is one of the offices. And this was another office too, but they turned it now into a big class. I remember the accounts is still the same. I used to come to this shed because I found it very cooling. And as for the staff room, you come in here when you're really in trouble. They still retain, the teachers are still very much there. And here was the first desk I sat when this building was done. And I can still remember this very well indeed. It seems like yesterday, and I look really up here. I hated science. I couldn't make any head or tail. How are you getting on, girls? Thank you. I tried to be a scientist, but I couldn't work out the difference between H2O and whatever. So I went into literature instead. I wasn't popular with my science teacher. In those days, this place used to be really well stocked because we were the first girls to use it. And of course, it was new. It hasn't changed much. I'm glad I'm back.
Een schoolvriendin van 30 jaar geleden.
I was told about you.
You haven't changed.
Not much, but I have put on a bit of weight.
Oh, nice. I couldn't believe it.
Our dresses. Look at them looking at us.
Take that away.
30 years we've known your way.
It is very, very British because one of the things we were taught was how to behave well, how to talk to servants, how to serve meals, how to do all sorts of things, including our education. We were being brought up by ladies. And don't forget that the school was established for very, very high middle class girls born outside Britain. You know, when their fathers joined the colonial service, they established such schools to train girls until they returned to England. So they still maintain that standard.
Na vaders dood was het gezin naar het Ibo-gebied, naar Ibuza verhuisd, waar de familie vandaan kwam. Een agrarisch dorp onder de hoede van de christelijke kerk en van de eigen godin, Ogwuwu Afor, die volgens de bewoners gedurende de Biafra-oorlog het dorp redde voor de wreedheid van de Hausa-soldaten. Hoe was het om daar een meisje te zijn met een middelbare schoolopleiding?
Oh, all my mother was thinking was just for me to get out quickly and get married because the fact that I've been to Methodist Girls' School meant I have to fetch a higher bride price. And I wasn't beautiful, but just because, oh, she's highly educated. And people would like to say my wife is being from Methodist Girls' School. It still is. People still go for university-educated girls. But as I said, she didn't know I would go on, and she thought you just stay 2 years and out and get married. But when it went on and on and on, she thought I was a very bad girl. But she introduced me to Mr. Harlem. That's the people I used to stay with. She just took me. She was very proud the first year, and she said, it's just Emmanuel, this is your cousin. And they sort of adopted me from there. During the long school vacations, I usually go to their home, and then you can see the practical British way being brought up to life in an African family. So they had been to England, they stayed long in England and back, and they are they still are very, very British. And not just British, the colonial British family. And eventually just a sort of copy them. And of course I was fed, my imagination was fired by reading novels, because you must remember during that time we had no television and no radio. So whenever you have a quiet time, it's always to read novels. And the fact that these people are living the life you see in novels, they sort of helped me all along. I know when the people see the way I started, they say, how did you make that leap? But all these things do add up.
Zij trouwde en haar man ging naar Londen om te studeren. Om een Bintu te worden, iemand die in Engeland opgeleid is. Een garantie voor een goede positie in Nigeria. Emecheta volgde hem naar Londen, maar de hereniging bracht niet wat zij ervan verwachtte.
In her happiness, she forgot that Francis came from another culture, that he was not one of those men who will adapt to new demand with ease. To him, a woman was a second-class human, to be slept with at any time, even during the day. And if she refused, to have sense beaten into her until she gave in, to be ordered out of bed after he had done with her, to make sure that she washed his clothes and got his meals ready at the right time. There was no need to have an intelligent conversation with his wife because, you see, if he did, she might start having ideas. Ada knew she was a thorn in his flesh. She understood what he was going through because he was suffering so. But although she was sorry for him, although she understood all that was happening to him, she was not going to be that kind of a wife. But until the time she kept hoping long to stay in England would change him. Did they not come to England for further studies? Surely he would change somehow. She was going to show the bride price to Francis, to show him that she could write and that she had not been wasting her time as he thought. But first, she must take the manuscript to her friends at the Chalk Farm Library. Bill read it, and so did Peggy and the others. Bill took it quite seriously. I felt so fulfilled when I finished it, just as if I had made another baby. She had told Bill, and he had replied, but that was how writers feel. Their work is their brainchild. The following Saturday, she left the children with Francis and dashed to the Crescent to do her weekly shopping. The queues at the Crescent were endless. In the end, she was happy to approve.
But Francis, could you not have thrown all those papers you are burning in the dustbin instead of making this awful smell in the room?
I was afraid you'd dig them out the bin, so I burned them.
Francis, what are you burning? Are they letters? Who wrote them? Francis, what are you burning? But Francis, that is my book. Bill said that was my brainchild. Do you hate me so much that you would burn my child?
I don't care whether this is your child or not. I have read it. And my family would not be happy if any wife of mine were permitted to write such a book.
So you burn it?
Can't you see that I've burnt it?
Then reality crashed into her mind. Francis was burning her story. He had burnt it all. The story she was going to base her dream upon of becoming a writer. The story that she was going to show Titi and Vicky and Boo Boo and Baby Dada when they grew up. She was going to tell them. She was going to say, look, I wrote that when I was a young woman with my own hand and in the English language. And she was sure they were all going to laugh, and their children were all going to laugh too and say, oh, Granny, you are so funny. That, to Ada, was the last straw. Francis could kill her child. She could never forgive him. She could forgive him all he had done before, but not this one. She got a new job at the British Museum as a library officer. Francis gave up his job because he guessed that Ada was now earning a great deal more than she had ever done in the past. But Ada remained adamant to her resolution. Her money from now was for her and for her children.
Hier maakte zij voor het eerst kennis met zwarte literatuur.
A book by James Baldwin, Fire Next Time. This was in London here. We used to take books out from the common run in order to keep for ourselves and read. So that was how I got a copy of a brand new copy of Fire Next Time. Yeah. The fact that I got a book written by a black person, it was something, yes. That made an impact on me. Then I progressed and started reading Chinua Achebe's. You know, and then coming later, I read Flora Nwankwa. All that they all contributed to make me feel, well, somebody has written, or some people are writing books. So why can't I start myself sometime? But the thing is, I never had the time. And when I stayed at home to look after a child I had premature, then I had the opportunity to do that. I started writing just like you like to tell stories to a group of members of your family. So I thought maybe a book would be something like that, when you just tell a story and you think, oh, nobody's going to read but members of my family. But of course, by the time I finished, I found I was showing the manuscript to them in the library and urging my husband to read it, and you know, still dreaming that one day my grandchildren will be able to read the book. So that was the first impulse, that was the first idea. And it was when I went to the library that people started suggesting publishing.
Is Buchi Emecheta nu een Engelse schrijfster of een Nigeriaanse?
Well, yes, because when you look at this from the slave girl to The Joys of Motherhood, or even The Rape of Shabi, the last book, it contains the social history of the Nigerian woman right from the early 20s to the present day. And when you take it on a wider scale, it contains the social history of Nigeria as a whole in about 6 books.
Waarom in het Engels, de koloniale taal?
Well, a lot of them speak English, and to me, I think it's a language of freedom. Because, you see, if we haven't been given English language, I don't know what we'll be using now. And I'm quite sure if the British can take the language away, they can take it away from us. But we've got it now. And to me, it's not a language of oppression at all, because it's the only language in which one Nigerian can talk to another. If you meet a Hausa man and you meet an Igbo person, they can't understand each other. But as soon as they start pidgin English, then they'll be able to make themselves understood.
Gescheiden levend van haar man studeerde zij sociologie aan de Universiteit van Londen. In 1980 werd ze benoemd tot professor aan de Unical, de Universiteit van Calabar in Nigeria. Zij doceerde daar taal en taalwetenschap. Slechts 2 jaar hield zij het uit, gescheiden van haar kinderen die in Londen achterbleven en ontwend aan de Afrikaanse verhoudingen wat de positie van de vrouw betrof. Hier ontstond haar boek Double Yoke, het dubbele juk, dat de Afrikaanse vrouw verscheurt tussen traditie en de moderne tijd. Het westerse feminisme meende in haar een medestrijdster te ontdekken.
When I was in Nigeria, I've never heard of the word feminism. And when I started writing, I've never even heard of the word. It's just that when I started writing, people just, oh, they look like feminist book, and they, especially second-class citizen, people just take it as a feminist book. What I write is the social ideas of the African woman, her social changes, her role in society, the little freedom she had in the old tradition, where women who are strong and who are outspoken are respected. She lost that because Christianity and colonization brought this demure woman, quiet woman, as the woman. And of course, we had that imposed on us. And then you find a lot of African women had to pretend. You've been to a village in Ibuzo yourself, and you find that the women who survive, they're all in their 70s, they are very, very strong. You can't do anything to them. But in England, those are women who people will say are too forward, are too boisterous, too manly. But those are the type of women who get the tradition and things together. So the little freedom our women had in the old tradition, colonization and Christianity took that away from us.
Oh, Mother, I want to have both worlds. I want to be an academician and also want to be a nice, quiet, and obedient wife. The type you all want me to be. I want the two, Mother. Please, Mother, help me. I know I can be of more use to you and my brothers if I had both worlds.
I know, Nko. I know. Sometimes I think you modern girls are not so lucky. When I was at your age, all I was thinking about was how to go to the fattening room to make myself look round and beautiful for your father. I didn't have to spend night after night without sleep. I didn't have to eat just oranges to remain thin. I didn't even have to look for a husband. Now you modern girls have this new mad thing, this education for women. And still, you want to have everything that we had. We had to keep quiet because we didn't know as much as our men knew. You may call us ignorant, but we were happy and contented in our ignorance. I am sure Jesus Christ, who said all those who carry heavy yokes should come to him, will help you. I think you should go to him in prayer. Because, daughter, do you know what you are under? You are under a double yoke. And you need a stronger shoulder to carry it all. I did not have this yoke. So how can I help you? I, who am just as baffled by it all as you.
Mother, suppose I refuse the university place offered to me. Do you think that will make me happier?
I don't know, daughter. I don't know. You have been to that place to see your man friend, Itekamba. And you have also seen that people who went to that place came out better equipped financially to cope with this expensive country. You have seen that no one is respected anymore here without money. And you know that you get all these things by going there. You have seen me shout with sheer joy on your admission to Unica. And you have seen all my friends congratulate me on the one hand and then envy me on the other for having such a brilliant daughter. Now, will you forgive yourself if you did not take this chance? And suppose Etekamba became a really big man who wanted an educated wife to match. Where would you be then? I think you have to have both, my daughter, in order to have that inner fulfillment which you desire. How you go about having that fulfillment is entirely up to you. Personally, I would say yes. Take the chance. Yes. You are not the only one facing this situation. When you get there, you will find out how other girls cope. You will even be better off because I, for one, will never stop praying for you. And you, my daughter, you must never forget your Savior.
So, Nko regarded herself lucky. She had a ready-made boyfriend. She had a mother who prayed for her constantly. Her father prayed for her too, but because he was always ill, somehow Nko thought he needed her own prayers more than she did his. With all these advantages in her favor, Nko looked hopefully to the future. She knew she would have to pay the school fees of her two younger brothers, but that was something Etekamba will understand. An educated girl these days was not expected just to be a financial asset to her husband, but had to be to her family as well. She will be in a good position after university, so that should not worry Etekamba and herself. Nko, in all innocence, was happy with her friends when they remarked on how good she was looking. She realized for the first time that subtle changes, like going bareheaded instead of tying one's head with a scarf, could make a big impact in the way she looked. She still wore her headscarf, though only when it was necessary, whenever she was in a hurry, or when the sun was too hot, or when it rained. She was now so confident that whenever she visited Professor Ikot in his office, she was always bareheaded.
To be displayed on the board for everybody to see so they can get ready. Who's it? Okay. I have to supervise Nko's work. This is Nko. It's one of our students here. I have to supervise her work myself. And she has chosen a topic that's quite interesting and quite original, you see. I want to see how far she can go. I suppose we can continue this talk next time. And in the meantime, see that the departmental secretary draws out the timetable with the examination officer,
Certainly.
and then we can continue. You tell me what happens. You feed me back. Young man, you take care of yourself.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, now, what do we have here? Oh, come on, no, sit down. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. I like the way you've straightened your hair, you know? But you see, one thing I must tell you, see, when people get used to see you coming to my office, they will stop talking. You know, the university is like the community outside, you know? And people do talk about each other. And you mustn't let that worry you. Have you ever been to Kwa Falls before?
No, what falls?
Kwa Falls. It's just a few miles from here. And we are going to there after Sunday morning service for a picnic. Would you like to come with us?
Okay.
Lovely, lovely. It is one of the wonders of this part of the country, you know. Right, and meanwhile, let me see all the essays you've written before. I'd like to find out why you keep translating your language into English.
It was never my best subject.
Really?
Yeah. I just managed to scrape through.
Is that so? And yet you found your way to the university.
I only managed to scrape through.
Well, it comes to the same thorny problem, isn't it? But anyway, when you've been in the university for 4 years, you'll find the right medium. And anyway, I'll pick you up on the chapel door.
When outside, Nko breathed a sigh of relief. To think she had thought the professor would make a pass at her. She tried to recall what had put that idea into her head in the first place. She was not too surprised to know that it was Ete Kamba. Ete was always jealous of the professor. He would not tell her why, and she had stopped asking. And now she did not know how she would go to him and say that she would not be able to watch him play College of Technology on Sunday because she was going to the Kwa Falls with the Ikots. The best thing would be for her to be quiet about it.
It was the biggest road I ever saw built in Nigeria. The other projects are executed like that. It will be lovely. And of course, as soon as they did the road, it became a cemetery for the cars.
How beautiful it is out here.
Oh, it's lovely. One would wish to stay here forever.
Yeah.
Do you think if I was living here, I'd go to Calabar?
No way.
Not at all. Just for a brief short.
I want a first-class honors degree.
I
don't care how you do it.
One has to work very hard.
I want a first-class
But
honor.
people have to work hard for this kind of grades, you know.
As hard as I've worked today at Kwa Falls.
Don't be silly. You enjoyed it. Don't tell me you didn't.
You know, people say that you might be the next vice chancellor.
Yes.
As a devout Christian, an African, and a professor, You stand a very good chance.
I know I deserve it.
And that would be really nice.
No, and I intend to get it.
I know you will get it. But first, I want a first-class honors degree.
Don't be silly. The chick.
Zoals Nicole in het dubbele juk proberen alle vrouwen in Emmet boeken onder de traditie uit te komen. Vindt zij traditie waardeloos?
Well, the useless traditions, I think I have to fight the useless traditions because, for example, if you educate a girl and she's free and she can work either in marriage or outside marriage, why should the parents demand heavy bride price as if they are selling her? Because if she's free enough, she can even help her own parents inside marriage, inside a good marriage. So I don't see why they should be demanding bride price as if you are being sold or hawked like a goat or something like that. So I fight against that. And another tradition which I fight against, although it's not documented in both books, is tradition of mourning. Women will have to go through a stage of mourning for 9 months and really reduce them to almost like mad people. They wouldn't wash, they wouldn't do this, and they have to cry every morning. I feel that is barbaric. It may have its significance, say 500 years ago, but not now. And those are the type of things I think I fight through my books. What I'm saying in my books is that in the old agrarian situation, when everybody was a farmer and you lived next door to your daughter and they married next door and all that, they must have had some significance. But now things are changing. And these traditions, some of them are very, very relevant. Well, in the Nnuego's case, for example, she wanted, through her children, to have something of a freedom for herself in old age. But of course, that is the traditional situation, that when you have many children, when you grow older, the children will look after you. But because of the changes, those children can't do it because they are still at that age where they were just building their own life. They can't do it. It's not that they don't like her or they don't love her. They do, but they were still busy building their own lives. In the traditional sense, a girl or a boy of 16 is already a farmer and can look after his or her family. But at 16 in these days, you are still at college, if you are lucky. Some people have traveled out of the country. So that was the case of Nnuego. That of Akonna, she had the weight of the tradition on her shoulders. She was too young to go against it. So the weight really crushed her because even though she knew she was doing the right thing, psychologically she wasn't strong enough to go against it. So all those worries culminated in her death when she was having her first child. So, and people in Ibuza always use that to say, if this happened, you died. You know, everybody knows that. If your bride price is not paid, you die during your first childhood, when you're having your first baby. We all know, staying in England, you know, it's useless, it's stupid, of course, it's not true. But people believe it, and it still happens.
Iedere Afrikaan heeft een dorp waarnaar hij altijd terug kan keren. Voor Buchi en Macheta is dat Ibuza. In de nabije toekomst zal zij Londen, waar zij nu woont, terug toekeren om zich voorgoed in Ibuza te vestigen als een levend compromis tussen traditie en moderne tijd.
Komen voor een ontmoeting met zijn Israëlische ambtgenoot Peres, die dan hier in Nederland op bezoek is. In de Royal Albert Hall in Londen is vergaderd over de toekomst van het Britse helikopterbedrijf Westland. De aandeelhouders moesten beslissen over een Amerikaans bod op het bedrijf. Uiteindelijk stemde 65% voor het Amerikaanse bod. Maar omdat voor zo'n besluit 10% meer nodig is, blijft de toekomst van Westland onzeker.
Buiten werd gedemonstreerd door werknemers van Westland die voor een Amerikaanse overname zijn. En dan de weersverwachting voor het weekeinde. Die hoort u van John Bernard.
Aan die koude noordwestelijke stroming met die winterse bui is hier in elk geval een eind gekomen. We zagen ze nog wel ten oosten van ons, boven Duitsland en Oostenrijk, met sneeuw. Een enkel klein buitje hier boven Nederland, maar een zwak hoge drukgebiedje zorgde voor wat opklaringen vandaag. Het werd niet meer dan een graad of 4, 5. We zien boven Engeland alweer een volgende wolkengebied en daar regent het uit. Eerste satellietfoto van West-Europa. Boven Duitsland die bewolking, waar die sneeuw uitvalt. En dan verder zien we boven Engeland die bewolking al naderen. Terug naar de weerkaart. We zien op de oceaan een strakke westelijke stroming. En hier is een nieuwe depressie in ontwikkeling. En we verwachten dat die in de loop van het weekend, met name zondag, alweer op de Noordzee ligt. Dus het wordt duidelijk een stuk slechter met mogelijk ook regen. Daar hebben we ook een satellietfoto van. We zien die vele bewolking, zien we op de oceaan. Dikke bewolking. En het meest opvallende is die spaghetti-achtige bewolking daar in de golf van Biscay, ten westen van Frankrijk. Daar hebben we een detail van. En die strepen, dat zijn allemaal rookgedeeltes van schepen die heel lang blijven hangen. Dus eigenlijk sporen van schepen door heel bijzondere atmosferische omstandigheden. Terug naar Nederland, maar dan voor zaterdag. Zoals gezegd, die bewolking komt erin met nogal wat regen. Het is zelfs mogelijk in het oosten van het land dat eerst wat sneeuw valt. Toch gaat de temperatuur wat omhoog, 7, 8 graden. Maar het weer is niet aangenaam door de bewolking en de wind. Zuidwestenwind met zo'n 5 tot 6. Morgenmiddag misschien vanuit het noordwesten nog een klein gaatje in die bewolking. En dan voor zondag. Voor zondag eigenlijk hetzelfde laken, een pak. Dus ook vrij veel bewolking en dan ook periode met regen. Zondagmiddag mogelijk wat opklaringen. Temperatuur nog wat hoger, zo'n 8, 9 graden. Maar er staat wel wat meer wind. 6 en misschien zelfs even een windkracht 8. Blijft dus zeer onbestendig.
Dat was het dan wel, journaal. Goedenavond.
Goedenavond, dames en heren. Vanavond het toneelspel Egoli van de Afrikaanse schrijver Matsemela Manaka. Het werd voor de televisie bewerkt door Henk Barnard. Matsemela Manaka woont in Zuid-Afrika, maar daar is het stuk verboden. Egoli speelt zich af in een hostel. Dat is een armoedig onderkomen